All right, well, welcome everybody. And this today is exactly why we watch the Olympics. In contrast to yesterday, this was an exciting day. From race after race, touch after touch, this was exactly what we're looking for when we watch the Olympics. The atmosphere was ecstatic, and it's official. We live in a Lion Marchand world. He is absolutely killing it. He has 3 gold medals. A French swimmer has never won more than 3 gold medals ever, and he's going to possibly win the 200 IM and have 4 gold medals at one Olympics. On top of that, he looks outstanding. Today, he took out 2 Olympic champions in one race, an Olympic champion and world record holder in the other race. And we're going to get to that here today. But I mean, Tori Husk was on. There were different races that were exciting. Katie Ledecky in the 1500 made another top 20 time. Now she owns all top 20 times in the mile. And it was absolutely exciting. I was jumping up and down. It was funny. I was watching Tori Husk coming in. I got up out of my seat. I'm here in my office. I started like yelling a little bit. I was trying to hold it in, but the walls are really thin here. And as soon as it was over, one of my colleagues came in and knocked on the door. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm watching the Olympics." And is there anything better than watching the Olympics, especially between grading and doing other things? You can take a break for about 2 hours, enter a different world. That excitement that was around La Defense Arena was unbelievable, and it was palpable, and it was coming through the screen. And it's something that I want to discuss with you guys today and absolutely go through all of the events that we can. So we're just going to kind of work our way through the results and go swim for swim, exactly what we're looking at. We're going to start with the women's 100 freestyle. And this started off the night great. I was absolutely stoked to watch what happened here. Obviously, you go into the race and you're just kind of saying, okay, we just hope that we're going to score pretty well. And there, I mean, like Tori Husk and Gretchen Walsh. They should be on top of it. They are on the outside lanes. They have clear water to their outside, but they have to get out and get after it. And as soon as the buzzer went off, they went, and Tori Husk tore it up. She was absolutely on fire from the beginning, and she was turning first. She had everything going exactly the way that we wanted it to happen. Right? She gets out fast. She gets ahead of everybody else. Everybody else is starting to catch up. O'Callaghan can't get there. She's like 7th or 8th on the wall, and she's trying to fight back because we all know that she has a great back half. That's what Rowdy Gaines has been talking the entire time. But Tori took off in the second half. She went after it. And then down you have Sorenstam. She's coming hard. 30 years old, still the world record holder from 7 years ago. Absolutely last time that she's going to be in the Olympics, last 100 freestyle. And she said afterwards that she was just hoping to make the final and have a good show. She thought she could medal, but gold was not in her wheelhouse. That was not what she was looking for. And if it wasn't for a small touch at the end, Tori Husk would be the Olympic gold medalist and Sorenstam would have been second. The amazing thing to me is just the consistency by which Tori Husk is swimming right now. The confidence that she has. Starting out with the 4x100 relay where she was the best leg. Then she has the 100 fly. Then she has all of these swims that are coming through, and she's absolutely killing it. She's showing off really well. She's getting the Olympic medals. She's somebody you can get behind and cheer, and absolutely has a great attitude about the whole thing. It was great to see. I felt bad for Gretchen Walsh as she comes in 8th. But she went a little bit faster than she did in the semifinals, and definitely faster than she went in the heats, the prelims. And if you look at all of the stats going through, one thing that's very interesting is all of the women in the final, except for one, went faster every single race, from prelims to semifinals to finals. Put it in perspective, Sorenstam went 52.87 and then went 52.16, minus 0.7 of a second between semifinals and finals, and she had gone another 10th faster than she did in the prelims, in the semifinals. Same thing with Tori Husk. She went 52.99. She dropped 0.7 and went 52.29 to come into it, and she was only 0.13 of a second behind first place. You look at Hagi from Hong Kong. She did the exact same thing. She dropped 0.3. You look at Molly O'Callaghan. She dropped 0.4. You look at Shayna Jack from Australia, and she went the exact same time between her semifinals and finals and went from 2nd to 5th. So that tells you have to show up and you got to swim hard. And then finally, we have China Yang. She came in, she added 1/100th of a second. And then we have 3/100ths of a second drop by Steinenbergen. And then Gretchen Walsh also dropped another 1400ths. So what you're seeing is it really does matter. Now, here's where I'm going to pause, and I'm going to make a little adjustment here, a little change. Later on around the men's 200 backstroke, Rowdy Gaines makes a comment, and he says it really doesn't matter about times because he's still consistently saying the pool is shallow. We're not going to have fast times. So what is he really talking about? And why does he keep complaining about it? That's what I want to know. Well, it's a simple answer. When you have a deep enough pool where everybody knows that you're going to swim fast, you can calculate how fast you need to swim in in the prelims, semifinals, and finals. You have a good judge. You know that going into finals, if you want to win, you're going to have to be close to the Olympic record, if not close to the world record, if they're not the same, and you need to be swimming right there. So he is doing all these calculations, and he talks about it all the time. I have 16 sheets of paper that I have done all these calculations. Yeah, because it takes that much work to do his job, and he does it extremely well. But what he's saying is because the pool is not up to snuff as far as he's concerned, and we're not going to get a lot of world records, we're not going to get a lot of Olympic records, and the swimming is not, I mean, some of the swimmers that are finaling and they're not as fast as they were at trials where it was deeper pool and it was a better atmosphere, possibly a better atmosphere. I think Lyon would say, hey, the atmosphere in France is pretty darn good. I love it. But anyways, what we're saying is it's hard to calculate. It's hard to figure it out. And so what you have to do is race. And that's the key to this whole thing. I talked in past episodes about being on the zones team. I kept telling the swimmers, get your hand on the wall, race. And that's what it comes down to. When you're at Olympics, you can add 5 seconds to your best time and still win Olympic gold. You're as happy as a lark. Absolutely. That's exactly what you want to do. So what you need to do, and I think that this is really good because it tells the Olympic swimmers, hey, it's about place. It's not about time. The only thing that really matters about time here is your preparation and how fast you feel in the pool so you can negotiate how fast you need to, when you need to push and when you need to hold back. And so you're calculating how your body feels, where you are in the pool. There's a lot of inputs that you're using in order to calculate how fast you're going. And I think what he's hinting at is that's all thrown off. Right? That's thrown off just a little bit, and it might be affecting the swims. And so he's going to continue to pound that. And I think he has a point about calculating and swimming and strategy. But I think at the end of the day, it's the Olympics, and you got to get your hand on the wall, and you got to race. So throw out the times. Throw out the times. At the last meet, we actually blocked out the times so the swimmers couldn't see it because we said it's not about who you're swimming against or their times. It's about what you're going to do, sticking to your strategy, and getting your hand on the wall. And I think all the swimmers that are doing real well, and I think this is why some of the U.S. swimmers are not doing as well, is because it feels different. They feel different about how fast they're going. They're like, I should have been faster than that. Why am I not? Because of how all of the inputs from around them are there. And the ones that are doing well, throw it out and say, I'm going to go and I'm going to race. I'm going to get out fast. I'm going to come in fast. And I think that's what you need to do. All right, enough about the rant. Now, let's go back to the action at the pool, the men's 200 butterfly, and Lyon Marchand killed it. This was, if not the most exciting race of the night, it was absolutely dynamite. We get out and I don't know about you, he gets out fast enough, right? Milak from Italy is out there for Hungary. He's out there. He's doing really well. He's the Olympic champion. He's supposed to win, right? It's supposed to be a two-person race. Who has more will? Who has more firepower? Who's going to get after it? And going into the third turn, it was Milak ahead, and Marchand needed to come back. And his underwaters on that turn was outrageous. It wasn't good. It wasn't excellent. It wasn't amazing. It was outrageous because you have Milak, who's already on top of the water, swimming full speed, and Lyon comes right up next to him, right at the 15-meter mark, and now they're even. And now they have basically, I mean, do the math. You have 35 meters to go, one-on-one. You have you're slightly back, and you've got to turn it over. And Marchand just buries his head and turns it over. And where Milak kind of slows down a little bit with about 10 to 15 meters to go, Lyon is full on, goes to 28.9 on that last 50 and absolutely kills it. absolutely takes takes away whatever Milak was thinking about going and crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. In the prelims, and put it in perspective, in the prelims, he was 155. In the semifinals, he was 153. And then he goes a 151-2 and wins by over a half a second. It was absolutely exciting. It was absolutely, I was screaming quietly in my office, trying not to mess with anybody else. I didn't need to have another person come in and knock on my door, but it was dynamite. And you saw the reaction from Bob Bowman. You saw the reaction from Michael Phelps on there. I'm so glad that they had that. And then you had the atmosphere of the entire arena going nuts. I have not seen that live. I mean, yeah, we saw that for the 400 IM, but he was so far ahead, it kind of set everybody back. But when it's a tight finish like that, when you're coming from behind, when you use that turn, just like Phelps would use his underwaters and the 200 freestyle and other events to come back, when that happens live there, it was absolutely dynamite. Could not believe it, was absolutely stoked. I said, this is our night. This is it. This is exactly what the Olympics is all about. Racing, racing, racing. And that's, I mean, that's what we had. So we have Mershon going first, Milak going second, Karun going third from Canada, which was really good. He went from a 154 down to a 152.8. And then, I mean, just absolutely exactly what we wanted. So that was really good. The next race is the women's 200 butterfly. And this went, you know, kind of the way that we thought it was going to go. You have Summer McIntosh taking off. She's doing really well. And then you have Reagan Smith, who follows her up and does a really great job. Looks strong the entire way through. Absolutely did great on it. Again, Reagan Smith on the third turn comes through. Go back and watch the turn again. She absolutely comes off the wall in the third turn, has the momentum, and then it was just her versus Summer, and it was a 32-7 on the last 50. 32-8 by Summer McIntosh on the, or 32-7 by Summer McIntosh on the last 50, 33-0 by Reagan Smith on the last 50. They knew that that's what they needed. I think they're going to go faster, just like I've been saying earlier in this episode, that every time you got to go a little bit faster. Every time you've got to drop time. But they look smooth. They looked absolutely where they needed to be. And then you come back to the next event, and you have Alex Shackle for the U.S. comes in, and she ends up being fifth, right? And so she does extremely well with her swim. She come in second with her swim. Zhang from China comes in at a 206.09, and Shackle comes at a 206.46. She was right there, right? You heard the announcers going, hey, she's 17. She's coming from Mount Carmel. She's going after it. She's going to be her senior year. They're talking this up because 200 butterfly takes a little bit of time, but she was fearless. She absolutely took on the Olympic champion and said, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to do what I need to do to put myself in a position to make the finals. And she did. So the difference between Summer McIntosh and her is about 0.4 of a second. So it's all going to be close. It's all going to be good. Now, who's going to show up at the final and press their luck? Who's going to go out fast and who's going to be there at the end? I'm not sure how that's all going to shake out, but I can't wait to see it. It's going to be absolutely exciting. The next event is just fun to watch. It was so good to see Katie Ledecky kill it in the mile. All right. So again, Tokyo is the first time that we have the mile for the women in the Olympics. And now Katie Ledecky owns all the top 20 times in this event. As Michael Phelps says, it's her event. If you own the top 20 times, it is your event. And there was never going to be in doubt how she was going to do. There was never going to be in doubt that she, unless she pulled a muscle or something went crazy in the middle of this race, there was no way that she was going to lose this race. And she absolutely killed it. And I think that it was, what was really good to see was that she was doing well. You know, she was, the time was an Olympic record. You know, after the 400, you fell a little bit off. After the races before, it was like, okay, she's a bronze medalist in the 400 freestyle. Maybe she's not on her A game. Maybe something's going on. No, it's just that 400 is a super fast event for her. And an 800, she's going to crush it. The mile, she's going to crush it. So she didn't sit back and say, okay, look, I'm going to win the gold medal. I'm going to save my energy. Her personality is what I love, because she goes after it. She absolutely goes after every swim. She wants to dominate every swim. In other words, she wants to do her best no matter what she does. She wants to do her best. If she feels good, she's going to go after it. If she feels great, she's going to go and she's going to muscle it. And so she went from a 15:47 to a 15:30. So she dropped 17 seconds. Why? Because she didn't need to go there. But so she dropped 17 seconds. And then the swimmer from France, she dropped 12 seconds. So everybody's dropping 10, 11, 12 seconds because there's not a lot of people in the event. There's only 17 that went in there, and one from Australia didn't show up. So you only had 16 anyways. So you make the final, you save your energy, you come in, and then you just absolutely go after it. So you have a US, France, and Germany 1, 2, 3 on that. It was absolutely great to see. It would have been nice to see Katie Grimes up in there. She won a 16:12 in the prelims and came in 10th, so she was just out of it. But I mean, she's done well before, obviously, at the last Olympics and trials, and she'll be back. She's young enough. But it was Katie Ledecky's night. She did really well. And then again, of course, everybody's going to talk about her interview afterwards where she said, I was thinking about all the guys from Florida and all the different people that I work with on a daily basis, and we push each other and we get there. And it was just really nice to think about them. And that encouraged me and kept me going. You're a special athlete when you're far enough ahead that you can relax and think about other people and yet not slow down. I mean, just think about that. Not only was she thinking about something other than racing and her breathing and what she was doing, she let her mind wander and she never slowed down. That is the mark of greatness. And that is something that maybe it's a learned skill that we have in swimming. Maybe it's something that with all the laps that we do, we can. I mean, I used to think about homework in the past. I would do math problems in my head. And I had other people that would ask trivia questions or sing songs, or there were certain songs that I would go to that would get me energized so that I could finish the set. And so we train ourselves, and that's one of the beautiful things about swimming is we train ourselves with boredom sometimes and pain and exercise and all the different things that we have to go through in order to be successful at practices and in competitions. And that trains us so that we can be really focused. And in a sense, we can think about other things while we continue to swim. And absolutely killed it. So Katie Ledecky's back as far as the mile goes. She has the 800 coming up. We'll see what relay she's on. I'm not sure if she's going to be on the 4x200 relay, but sometimes they'll substitute in, sometimes they won't, but we'll see what happens. And so anyways, it was really, really good to see what was happening there. So let's get on to the 200 backstroke. Okay. Now, from all this excitement and everything building, we have Tori Haas going after it, Leon Marchand going after it. We have a great 200 butterfly. Everybody's scoring pretty well. We're first and we're fifth. And then Katie Ledecky kills it. And then we come into the 200 backstroke and it's like the brakes come on, right? Because nobody made it back for the US, right? When you're looking at the 200 backstroke, the men's 200 backstroke, you have, well, Keaton Jones comes back sixth. So he qualifies. I apologize about that. I overlooked that on my sheet. But anyways, so Keaton Smith comes back sixth, and that's pretty good. But Ryan Murphy comes in 10th. And so that's kind of like the letdown. And that was the focus of the broadcast because we really didn't talk about Keaton Jones all that. That wasn't said very much. And I think that he had a really good race as far as that goes. He comes into it. He goes 27.5, 27.3, 29.4, 30.2, 29.3 in order to qualify. And when he qualifies by about 0.13 of a second. So he needed to come back and he needed to do well. How is he going to do? Well, if he steps up and he goes faster like everybody else, he should be A-okay as far as contending for probably the top 5. I'm not sure that he's going to be where he needs to be. 56.09 puts you in third place, and he's 56.39. But that's also how much is left in the tank for him and what could happen in the future as far as racing goes. And so that's what you're going to have to look at, is you're going to have to say, what is the possibility of him dropping again? And you know what? It's the Olympics. So why not dream big and think that she can go after it? If he goes after it, works his underwaters, I think that he's going to be pretty good. For Ryan Murphy, it is a disappointment. He expected to be there and be in the top 8. He expected to be vying for a medal here. Yes, he's not quite as good in the 200 as he is in the 100, but he was the top qualifier coming out of the trials, and he did extremely well there. And I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but if you look at the splits, he went 27.1, so he's out very, very quick, okay? Then he's out 29.59, 30.1, and then he only comes back in 29.77. I mean, that's a really good race. That's really good splits. Whenever you have the first 50, and then you go 2 seconds slower in the second, third, and fourth, thereabouts, then we call it flat backing, and it's absolutely the way that you want to split the race. So that's how you do the calculations. That's what you need to do. But the difference is he went 156.62, and to qualify, he needed to go 52. So he's 1/10 of a second away. And so it's just, again, finishing the race, getting your hand on the wall is what you need to do. Looking forward, I mean, it's wide open. You have a lot of different individuals that could go in there and do well. But I think Kos from Hungary is the top seed, and he should be the favorite going in. Mertens from Germany would be pretty good, and Christolo from Germany is going to be, from Greece is going to be well too. So it should be a fun race to watch tomorrow. Let's move on to the men's 200 breaststroke, and this is the bookends for Leon Marchand, right? So coming into this day, this was absolutely what was circled on the calendar by an awful lot of people. It was circled on the calendar for Leon, right? Because he's going to go 200 butterfly, 200 breaststroke. That's a hard double. Across the board, you're going to put a lot of energy into the 200 breaststroke, into the 200 butterfly, and then you got to come back and do the 200 breaststroke, and that's absolutely going to hurt. There's no doubt about it. There's nothing you can say that's not going to hurt. You just have to say, this is the decision that I made. This is where I'm going to go. Okay. It's also circled by Bob Bowman, by Michael Phelps, by everybody in France is excited about this day. This is where he can make history, but he's got to beat 2 Olympic gold medalists in the field and a world record holder, and he's got to go after the race. And again, it's all over the place as far as the technique and what's going to happen, but he was absolutely solid, took it out extremely fast, went after it like he should. I mean, absolutely, he needed to go out fast and stay in front of everybody else. There's no doubt about it, because if you look at his times, he was 2:08.11 in the semifinals. He was 2:09.55 in the prelims, so that brings him back. That's not a big deal. You know, he finishes third. He goes 2:08.11. He's the first qualifier. And Stubblely Cook, which is the greatest name in all of Australian swimming ever. I just love the name. My son, who's 9, just says, I like that guy just because of his name. So Stubblely Cook is there, and he goes 2:08.5. So what we're looking at is coming in, we have breaststrokers that are going 2:06. We have breaststrokers that are going 2:08, 2:09. So it's all right there in ready. If you have a best race and other people don't have a best race, then you have a chance. And so Matheny comes into it. He goes 2:10.3 in the prelims. He goes 2:09.7 in the semifinals, and he goes 2:09.5, which is right about a little bit slower than his best time, but that's where, with the pool and everything, that's where you expect him to be. But you're hoping that he can go 2:06, because if he goes 2:06, he's a bronze medalist, right? If he drops the time and goes where he could have gone, where Matt Fallon had been, he was a 2:06 coming in, right? If Fallon has that and he can have that, he's a bronze medalist. So we know that we have the talent there. It's just showing up on the day, but nobody was going to stop Leon today. Nobody. So he gets into it. He goes 2:05.85 compared to 2:06.79, and he just killed it. He went after it from the get-go. His underwaters were great. They were long, they were strong, and he just built the tempo exactly the way that he needed to have it. Everybody in the stand is just screaming and yelling go every time his head comes up. It's the atmosphere, and he's far enough ahead they can start really celebrating before he even finishes it. So it's not as close to the 200 butterfly. It's just as exciting because everybody in France is excited about it. And it was absolutely textbook. Absolutely textbook. It's an Olympic record, 2:05.85. And I just love the energy. I hope that you did too. I hope that you were enjoying it with some people. I was sitting like I said, I was sitting in my office. There wasn't too many people to enjoy it with, but I was enjoying it just thinking about all the people. I remember 1988, whenever Mike Barrowman went like broke 2:10. And so we're coming back, and or 19, yeah, was it 88 or 92? But he broke 2:10, and everybody was just freaked out that was so fast. And now we're at 2:05. It's the Olympic record, and absolutely excited about it. Again, this is what swimming is all about at the Olympics. Finally, we have the men's 100 freestyle, and that was insane. that was insane. Like, I don't know how else you can carve this up, but Pan from China went absolutely bonkers. 2 point, they said in the broadcast and they showed that the other Olympians are pointing to the time going, oh my goodness, it's a world record. And he absolutely crushes it by going 46.4. That means we're approaching 45 seconds in long course meters down and back, which is absolutely insane. Let's put it in a little bit of perspective here, okay? So if we go back to the great call of 2008, Jason Lezak, here comes Lezak. He's coming through. Well, what's happening? He's on Basset. The French is out in front of him, and he said, what I did, and he was really smart. Basset is close to the lane line. He's close to the lane line, and he rides the wave and gets pulled for the first 50. He just has to sit on the hip of the French, I believe it was the world champion at the time, if not the world record holder at the time, and just sit on his wave and get pulled, saving energy for the second half. He hits the wall. He comes back off the wall. He's absolutely crushing it, and then he's catching up. And as the French swimmer starts to tighten up because he went out too fast trying to end it on the first 50 instead of the second 50, Lezak comes through and does the absolute fastest split in a 4x100 freestyle to date. I don't think anybody's gone faster than it, but at that point, it was the absolute fastest. Put it in perspective, with the help of the wave and all of the energy that he saved on that first 50 so he could come back on the second 50, and the benefit of a relay start, which we normally calculate at 0.6 seconds. Okay, so add 0.6 to this. He went 46.06, which means it was 46.66 in the water, but that's if you don't have help with somebody pulling you along and sitting on their hip because they're far enough in front of you, you can ride the wave. And yet, Pan goes 46.4. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And it makes everybody just go, wow, I didn't think that was possible. And then again, you go back to the comments of Rowdy of Gaines. He's basically saying the pull's too slow, and yet this individual pops off a world record and makes China really proud there. Chalmers comes in 7th. Popovich from Romania comes in 3rd. It's 46.40, 47.48, 47.49. And what is 4th place? 47.50. So 2 100s between 2nd and 4th. That is the difference between a silver medal and not being on the podium. Absolutely insane. Now, Jack Alexey and Chris Giuliano come in 7th and 8th. And again, we're talking about the splits between prelims, semifinals, and finals. Jack Alexey goes 47.57 in the prelims, 47.68, so he goes slower in the semifinals, and then he goes 47.96 in the finals. And I'm not sure why that is. I expected him to go faster each time. I think if he goes faster each time, he's vying for a medal because he's only like half a second out, and that could be made up somewhere along the line. Chris Giuliano comes in 48.25. Then he goes 47.72, but then he adds 0.2, 2600ths of a second. He goes 47.98 at the finals. So that was a little bit disappointing for them, I'm sure. I'm sure they're going to work out the kinks and they're going to come back really strong. But tonight was a great night, okay? There were little disappointments here or there, but there's going to be disappointments no matter what you're watching because the swimmers are going to be disappointed if they're not reaching the goals that they have or not excelling the way that they want to excel. One time I was talking to Aaron Pearsall, and he talked about whenever he raced, he didn't care about the medal so much as he did. His goal was to win the event. And as long as he won the event, yes, he's getting the gold medal. But then in 2000, I think it was 2008, when he was disqualified for a small amount of time, he told me that during that time, he was going around to all of his competitors going, I didn't cheat. Because it was important to him that he won the event, which he did, because he finished first, and that he didn't cheat. Now, at the end, it got reversed for several different reasons, but he didn't cheat. He got the gold medal, but he said even at that time, he had already had his goal was met, and he was satisfied with that swim. So some of these swimmers have goals that even though it may not be an Olympic medal, it may not be a gold medal, and that's what we as fans can always root for is the gold medal. They might be saying, I just need to get on the stand, or I want to make finals. They all have different goals. And so there's different levels of excitement, success, and disappointment. And I think sometimes as fans, we demand more than what the swimmers demand because they understand where they're coming from. But I think tonight was a great night. I think it was absolutely exciting. And I can't wait to see the finals of some of these races tomorrow. As we look ahead, what do we have? Well, we also have the 200 in the prelims. We have the women's 200 backstroke. Again, this is going to be Regan Smith versus Kaylee McCowan. And they're going to go not in the same heats, right? Because McCowan is going to be in the last heat and as the first place qualifier. And then Regan Smith is going to be in the second to last heat because she's the second qualifier as that unfolds. Now, Phoebe Bacon, I think she's making her Olympic debut, which is going to be really exciting in the 200 backstroke. She'll be right in the final heat, right next to McCowan. She's 206. She's 206.27. She's the fourth place coming in. She's in fourth place qualifier. So she should be pretty good to make top 16. We'll see what they have to do at the night and see how they feel there. But I think that it should be a pretty good morning in that race. I think that you're going to find people who need to qualify will qualify, as always. The next race that's going to happen is the men's 50 freestyle, and there's a lot to talk about there. I'm just excited. I mean, everybody's going to be like, hey, all right, this is going to be really, really neat because we have Chris Giuliano coming back, 21:59. And then Caleb Dressel, who won trials, is going to be in there too. They are both going to be in the final heat with the top qualifier, Cameron McAvoy from Australia, who's a 21:06. So that should be exciting. That should get everything tuned up. Now, here's the trick. Of course, it's the 50 freestyle. So it's a start, a swim, and a turn. So you better be fast underwater, which we know Dressel is definitely going to be. But then you have to qualify. And it's going to be close, and it's going to be down to tenths and hundreds. So this is one of those events that you can't really relax on and say, I'm not going to give my best, or I can just shut it down. You can't. You got to get to the wall. You got to get in. I think we're going to be A-OK for the top 16, and then it's going to be exciting tomorrow night to see who qualifies for the final 8. It could go a lot of different ways. I expect Dressel and Giuliano to make the semifinals. I really do expect them to make the finals as well. But we'll see how they're swimming and how that ends up. After that, we're back in Leon's world, right? It's the 200 IM. Carson Foster did really well in the 400 IM. I think he's going to be really strong in this. He's the third highest qualifier. He is solid. He can race it. He needs to get out fast. He needs to just make sure that he just does his job. He'll make the top 16, no problem. I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. Wang is the top qualifier from China, but then you also have Leon Marchand, who's going to be the second overall, and he'll be in the second to last heat there. You have Shane Cassis, and he's from the U.S. He is going to be the fourth seed. So we have the third seed and the fourth seed. So again, if we just have a good swim, if everything's solid, if your turns are good, and if you're getting after it, everything should be A-OK. So I'm excited about that. And then finally, of course, we have the women's 4x200 relay, or the 800 free relay, and that's going to be good. We, of course, will see who qualifies. Will be really safe in the morning, but then we're going to see who comes in the afternoon. Going into it, we are seated, the U.S. is seated 4 seconds slower than Australia. Now, we caught up a lot, but can we catch up enough in order to get a gold medal, or are we going to stay with silver medal? I'm not sure. I think Australia is probably going to have it the way that they're swimming, and also the lead that they have when you add up all the fastest times. But we'll see. Every day is a different day. Compare yesterday to today, the excitement level, the achievements that we have, all the things that are happening. I can't wait for tomorrow, and I can't wait to see you on our podcast daily, reviewing the finals for the day and previewing the races for tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.